नमस्कार। घटनाचक्र में आप सबका स्वागत है। आज 9 जनवरी है और प्रवासी भारतीय सम्मेलन का उद्घाटन प्रधानमंत्री ने कर दिया है। प्रधानमंत्री ने ड्यूअल सिटीजनशिप, दोहरी नागरिकता के बारे में घोषणा कर दी है कि बजट सत्र के दौरान में हम एक बिल लाएंगे और कानूनी औपचारिकताएं पूरी करने के बाद हम इसको स्वीकार कर लेंगे। जब ये घोषणा की तो प्रगति मैदान के हॉल में तालियां बज उठी। इसके अलावा आज पूरा दिन प्रगति मैदान के अंदर ऐसा लग रहा था कि जो लोग अपने वतन लौट कर के आए हैं, वहाँ के संगीत से, वहाँ के मेहमानों से, वहाँ के नेताओं से मिलके अपनी पुरानी यादों को ताज़ा करने में लगे थे। लेकिन इस सम्मेलन का क्या मकसद है? ये सम्मेलन भारत को क्या देने जा रहा है और भारत इस सम्मेलन को क्या देने जा रहा है? मतलब मेरी मुराद है प्रवासी भारतीयों से। क्या प्रवासी भारतीय यहाँ कुछ पाने आए हैं या कुछ देने आए हैं? रिश्ता कुछ अजीब सा है। इस रिश्ते को जानने की कोशिश करेंगे। हमारे बीच में 3 महत्वपूर्ण मेहमान हैं। मैं आपका परिचय कराने जा रहा हूं। हमारे बीच में मेहमान हैं प्रोफेसर लॉर्ड भिखू भाई पारिक, जो कि सदस्य हैं हाउस ऑफ लॉर्ड्स के और लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स में प्रोफेसर हैं। पारिक साहब, आपका स्वागत है हमारे इस कार्यक्रम में। धन्यवाद। और मेरे बीच में है डॉक्टर पवन कुमार रतन हैं, जो कि फ्लोरिडा में रहते हैं, प्रेसिडेंट इलेक्ट है, यानी कि इसके बाद जो प्रेसिडेंट आएंगे वो हैं आपसा के, एसोसिएशन ऑफ अमेरिकन फिजिशियंस फ्रॉम साउथ ईस्ट एशिया। डॉक्टर रतन, आपका भी स्वागत है हमारे इस कार्यक्रम में।
थैंक यू।
और हमारे बीच में डॉक्टर राजन आनंद हैं, जो कि प्रोफेसर ऑफ फिजियोलॉजी हैं और बिल क्लिंटन के शासन में नेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ हेड ऑफ सेंटर फॉर न्यूट्रिशन पॉलिसी रहे हैं, जो कि बहुत एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग वहाँ रहा है। और अभी जो है प्रेसिडेंट इलेक्ट हैं नेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन अमेरिकन एसोसिएशंस के। डॉक्टर आनंद, आपका भी स्वागत।
थैंक यू।
आप तीनों बड़े मोअज़्ज़िज़ लोग हैं, वेरी लर्नेड पीपल, दोज़ हु हैज़ एक्सेल्ड इन योर रिस्पेक्टिव फील्ड्स। बट पारिक भाई, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ, हमारे दर्शक भी जानना चाहते हैं कि इस सम्मेलन का क्या मतलब आप निकाल रहे हैं? व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस प्रवासी सम्मेलन फॉर यू?
Well, its meaning is twofold. First of all, this is the first time in the history of India, post-independence India, that government of India has realized the importance of the diaspora and decided to call a conference of the diaspora to discuss what it should do. First time since 1947. So I think that the first meaning is this, that it makes the overseas Indians realize that they are being valued. And the second is a follow-on from this, which is that one hopes that something will come out of this and that many of the continuing concerns of the overseas Indians would be met by the government of India. That for me is the twofold meaning of this conference.
Okay, डॉक्टर पारिक, हम लोग अपने दर्शकों को बता दें, अगर आप हमारे मेहमानों से कोई सवाल करना चाहते हैं तो फ़ोन उठाएं और सीधे हमसे बात करें। हमारा नंबर है 241000001 और 2410003। आप फ़ोन पे बात कर सकते हैं, कोई भी सवाल हो, लेकिन सवाल अगर आप पहले लिख लेंगे और संक्षिप्त में रहेगा तो ज़्यादा बेहतर रहेगा। डॉक्टर रतन, मैं आपसे भी यही सवाल करना चाहता हूँ कि जो मैंने डॉक्टर पारिक से किया।
मेरे विचार से इट इज़ ए लैंडमार्क इनिशिएटिव which has come at a time when both parties are ready. I told you I'm involved with Chamber of Commerce. We normally say a good business is where both parties are happy. The Indian diaspora has now matured. We went there, we worked hard, we attained our position. We are longing to do something for the country. The country seems to be ready also. So this is a win-win situation. And I think it is a great tribute to our Prime Minister. In USA, definitely a great tribute to our ambassador, Mr. Lalit Mansingh, and ambassador at large, Mr. Agnihotri, that they have energized all of us. We were all, those people you say are involved in the community, but we have now realized that we need to do more, and not only do more as a one united Indian, not as के गुजराती समाज के हैं, पंजाबी एसोसिएशन के हैं, डॉक्टर्स की एसोसिएशन है. They have also started to realize that working together, it is both for us to get what we want to do for our own self, not for India. As a community, our special needs we are getting together. same thing, the India is going to benefit tremendously. So it is a situation, a point that we have reached, a point of maturity where both parties are doing what is mutually beneficial, and it's a win-win situation. And I'm very delighted that it has happened.
Dr. Anand.
Actually, I agree with Dr. Parik. We have come a long way. There was a time when we were considered as traitors, that we left India for our selfish reasons because we want to make more money, we want to have a better life. The Indian diplomats did not treat us very well. They actually looked down at us. But then India at some time, I think it was during the administration of Narayanan, who became president, they realized that we have a resource, and he called that this is our investment, and we have to nurture investment if we want to get good dividends. And from that point on, India has realized rightfully that this is a resource which they have failed to use, and now they can use. I strongly believe that if anything has to come out, it has to be mutually beneficial. I don't think that these people who have settled abroad will do much for charitable thing.
Yeah.
They will do some charity, but they will not do, this will not succeed unless it's a two-way street and it's a mutual benefit.
Yeah, that's right. You are also saying, Dr. Rajan also saying the two-way street should be there. Dr. Parik, do you think that India is ready to meet the challenges or meet the expectations which Dr. Ratan has said? That,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. For a variety of reasons. If I were the Prime Minister of India, which happily I am not, I would
happily.
I would ask myself a simple question.
Yeah.
What has the diaspora got to give me? And in return, what is the price that they might demand from me?
Okay.
Now, any man, the Prime Minister, is in charge of the national interest of India. He is not in the business of opening the doors to anybody and everybody. He has to ask himself, I am here elected by the people of India, not by the diaspora, by the people of India, to look after the interest of my country. What are the national interests of India? And in that national interest, what is this tiny 1.6% of India's population going to contribute? We are 1.1 billion people in India. You've got 20 million people there, which is just under 2%. 75% of them are not middle class. They have nothing to contribute. Economically, they have nothing to contribute. What are the Indians in Fiji? Working classes in United Kingdom even, or West Indies going to contribute?
Or Suriname, say.
Suriname, say. They have nothing to contribute. Americans, if you, professors and others don't have much to contribute. He doesn't have much money to give. I don't have much money to give. So you are talking about IT specialists. Again, in the diaspora, there are no big industrialists. We want investment in industry. Now, the money that our people have is the money which is really coming out of IT and other things, which is a .com, it's a bubble that can burst any time. So the question is, what have overseas Indians going to give to me as the Prime Minister of India? And I would say, well, I have two expectations. One, as in the case of Gulf countries, in 1991, when India was short of foreign reserves, we had only enough money to pay for 1 month's import, otherwise we are going to go bankrupt. Suddenly, the government of India issued all kinds of schemes, and about $3 billion were contributed, not by the Indians in America, very little, not by Indians in Europe, only the Indians in the Gulf countries. They contributed 92% of the remittances coming to us. They saved India, not the Indians in the United States and England. So I don't want to get government of India to get things wrong. And they have done their calculations. They are not fooled. They have done their calculations. All the noise is being made by the Indians in England and America. But all the help is coming from Indians in the Gulf country, at least in the past. Now the picture might be a little bit different, but until then, their record is much better of serving India than the record of affluent Indians elsewhere. So he would say, look, now the situation has changed. Indians in the United States and Britain can contribute in terms of investment, in terms of skills. More important thing is not money. Even whites will invest in India. If you give them good terms of trade, everybody would invest. Why go for Indians?
That's right.
What Indians can give is they can give managerial skills, people like him, highly talented doctors, they can come here, train people, IT specialists. That's one thing that he would, as a prime minister, he would say.
You ultimately come on the policy matters.
No, yeah. So this is one thing that they can give, and the other thing they can give is that the Indians abroad can be politically influential in promoting India's cause.
That we will come later on now, because we are just concentrating on the economic part.
On the
of
economic
that
part.
Political part we will touch later on.
Yeah.
But I want to know, because I could see the reaction of Dr. Ratan.
I feel I hope you don't feel offended. You're totally out of touch
Tell me.
with the reality.
Tell me.
Let me tell you something. As
Yeah.
a physician, I know. Ultimately, everything in life is a matter of emotions. All politics is local. All reactions are emotional. Those of us that have left this country have strong emotional bond with this country. It is not about money. I would rather invest somewhere else where I can get. Do I invest in China? I have invested in this country. It is a matter of emotions. We have reached a stage of our life where we are well settled, kids have gone to college, we are looking for emotional fulfillment. It is that attachment to the country that has brought me back here, that is going to bring others back here, that has brought my daughter here. Every time she says, Daddy, I love this country. It has, why are Chinese investing in this country? I mean, I am just totally surprised at your comments.
I'll tell you.
Chinese are investing in China. We are investing in India because it is more than a matter of money. It is a matter of emotional attachment. The second thing is, it is more than money. It is a matter of bringing an added managerial skill. I remember one time there was a guest of ours. In fact, he stayed at my house. His Highness Mrs. Ramesh Oza. He gave a lecture in our temple and he said, I want all of you to love Indian culture, continue to spread the Indian culture, but I want all of you to manage the American way, learn American management. Because it was a free management, we bring that managerial skills to this country. That doesn't cost money. We are going to make a difference. We are committed to making a difference. And by the way, it gives me more than what money can buy. I get a thrill out of it. That is what it's all about. It is not about just what money are being.
I can deal with it in a minute.
Okay.
Which is, where was this patriotism until now? In 1991, when India was going through the darkest period, utterly bankrupt economically.
Yeah, we mortgage our gold.
Gold. At that time, where was this patriotism? Where was this love of India? And by 1991, 86% of the Indians settled in America now were already there. The first wave from 1965 to 75, next wave from 80 to 90, 83 to 84% of the Indians who are there now were there. They were not available. Now, I don't disagree with him entirely. There is a role for emotion in life. But if I was the Prime Minister of the country, I wouldn't risk its future on the basis of an emotion. How much, if there is emotion here, why is this country so corrupt? Why are not people saying, I love my country, I live here, he lives abroad. So his attachment is bound to be less. There are people here who live here. How many doctors are prepared to give up their money or their services or be honest for the sake of the poor? How many professors are prepared to give more time? So all I'm saying is, emotion is all right, but every human being calculates his interest. And I would say in any motivational account of how people behave, emotions will play about 10 to 15% maximum. If it plays more, then that man is a saint, and my hat's off to him.
I have to, because he has said something that is totally wrong. He is saying, where were you? This is what my son says. Where were you when I was growing up? I was working, I'm an OBGYN, working day and night. I remember what I said. We have reached a stage of maturity, both the Indian diaspora and the country. We are now a little bit freer. We are now a little bit more relaxed. We have a little bit more time. We were at that time just trying to...
In 10 years, how have we matured in 10 years?
Let me tell you, in 10 years, I
Doctor,
he will tell you.
Yes,
Yes,
but
I think that
Doctor, I have to go on break,
Yes.
but before I go on break, you can speak.
I would take double the time they have taken. The reason why I think there are very few people like him, I strongly believe that the emotions cannot save India.
Exactly.
There are very few Indians who will believe like that and do it. most Indians will not give and serve money. If India expects that the overseas Indian will bring some economic riches, I think they are totally wrong. What Indian they can do it? I think Vajpayee put it very nicely. He said, I don't want your riches. I want your rich experience.
He said, we want the richness of your experience.
Right. That is what I think
Mm-hmm.
India should concentrate, because people are much more willing to give the richness of their experience than they are willing to part with their money.
जी.
And most people, particularly doctors, my experience is, if you go to physicians, they are the most conservative in parting with their money. Very, very difficult. I can get money from a 7-Eleven dealer. He will give me money for political. My job is to raise money for political candidates. I can get money from a 7-Eleven person who makes a lot less money. The guy who makes $500,000 would not part with the money. They're very difficult. And emotions will not work.
Exactly.
And if India expects that we will gain their emotions, I strongly believe that emotions, if the emotions were there, where were all these Indians when India needed them? They were not there.
जी, चलिए लौट करके आएंगे, थोड़े से ब्रेक के बाद हम लोग लौट करके आएंगे और इस बहस को आगे बढ़ाएंगे कि मोहब्बत का रुख भारत को मददगार साबित होगा या नहीं होगा। अंततः हमको उन प्रवासी भारतीयों से क्या चाहिए और प्रवासी भारतीय हमको क्या दे सकते हैं। छोटे से ब्रेक के बाद। सर, घटनाचक्र में आप सबका एक बार फिर से स्वागत है। आज प्रधानमंत्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने 10 प्रवासी भारतीयों को सम्मानित किया है। इसके अलावा एक सवाल और खड़ा होता है इस बातचीत में। वो सवाल ये है कि जो हमारे प्रवासी भारतीय हैं, क्या वो भारत का राजनीतिक परिचय यानी कि तिरंगा झंडा यानी कि राजनीतिक दबाव उन देशों पर बनाने के लिए काम करेंगे जो देश हमारे पर दबाव बना रहे हैं और तमाम तरह के दबाव बना रहे हैं। क्या, अगर दूसरे शब्दों में कहा जाए कि क्या प्रवासी भारतीय भारत के राजदूत बनकर वहां काम करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे? ये डिबेट का हिस्सा है, लेकिन डिबेट अभी तक जो चल रही है वो आर्थिक मुद्दे पर है। हो सकता है हमारे मेहमान फिर आर्थिक मुद्दे पर आ जाएं। हमारे बीच में डॉक्टर भिखू भाई पारिक हैं, डॉक्टर पवन कुमार रतन हैं और डॉक्टर राजन आनंद हैं। डॉक्टर पारिक, हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, आपने पॉलिटिक्स की बात की थी बातचीत में, वो मैंने कहा था कि अभी इकोनॉमिक्स की बात कर लें। एक सवाल इकोनॉमिक पे बात हो रही है, मैं फिर उस एक सवाल के बाद पॉलिटिक्स पे आऊँगा। मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि इकोनॉमिकली, जैसे आपने कहा इस सम्मेलन में, क्योंकि मैं आज देख रहा था ज़्यादातर जो भरमार है वो एकेडमिशियंस की है या कुछ सीईओज हैं जिनकी अपनी कंपनी नहीं, दे आर रिप्रेजेंटिंग द बिजनेस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ अदर्स, लेकिन ऐसा सच कोई बड़ा नाम नहीं है और ऐसा भी नहीं लग रहा कि ये प्रवासी सम्मेलन जो है भारत में कुछ नए उद्योग धंधे लगाने वाले लोगों के लिए हो रहा है। हालांकि फिक्की इसको आयोजित कर रही है। मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि दोहरी नागरिकता देने से या गल्फ के नागरिकों का जो हमारे प्रवासी भारतीय हैं उनका इंश्योरेंस करने से जो $4 बिलियन का कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो आने वाले 2020 तक 10 बिलियन हो जाएगा या 20 बिलियन हो जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ इस सम्मेलन से नजर नहीं आ रहा। आपको कोई उम्मीद है?
नहीं, ये 4 बिलियन की जो बात कर रहे हैं आप
जी,
वो तो रेमिटेंसेस हैं
जी,
इसी। आप अगर जो डायरेक्ट प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट देखें तो हमारे यहाँ बहुत कम है और भारतीय परदेशी भारतीयों जो हैं उनमें से इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपेयर टू चाइना बहुत कम है। काफ़ी वजह है। इफ़ यू लुक एट चाइना, ओवरसीज चाइनीज contribute 80% of foreign direct investment, what is called
FDI की बात करें।
Overseas Indians contribute 4% of total FDI. Now there are many reasons for this. Overseas Chinese are much larger than us. Their diaspora is larger than us. B, they have a lot of money. C, even when you talk about overseas Chinese, the money is not coming from Chinese in the United States. The money is coming from Chinese in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Hong Kong.
Singapore, Hong Kong.
Hong Kong now is a part of China.
Yeah.
Singapore, Indonesia, and so on. So I think one has to bear in mind that when you talk about whether dual nationality will make a difference, the answer is no, for two reasons. First of all, just because you give somebody dual nationality, by the way, it's not dual citizenship, it's dual nationality. Dual nationality means two passports. Dual citizenship means all the rights of citizenship. And citizen has two rights. A non-citizen doesn't have right to vote and right to stand for office.
That is
And the
that we are
Prime
not
Minister
allowing.
has made it clear
Ji.
that the two fundamental rights of citizenship will not be available to overseas, and rightly so. Why should I have a right to vote in the election in a country where I don't live, where I will not have to pay the price of bad policies?
Yes.
So it's dual nationality, meaning two passports, simply, not dual citizenship. Now, if you give that, by itself, it's not going to persuade me to invest more money. But secondly, and this is where the catch is, when the Prime Minister said there will be dual nationality, he immediately qualified it in two ways. And I don't think people have, the devil is always in the details. He says, it will be given to some countries, but not to others. Now, you are not going to give it to Gulf countries. He has made it clear, his colleagues have made it clear.
Yeah.
You are not going to give it to people in Fiji, East Africa and so. Who are you giving it to? United States?
The Britain,
And Britain.
France, Germany.
In other words, Western Europe
Canada,
and North
Australia.
America,
Yeah.
maybe Australia. Now, so that's one thing he mentioned, and he left it vague. Now, that's very dangerous. If you are going to say that we are going to give Indian passport to the rich Indians in the rich countries, but not to the poor Indians in the poor countries who stood by you when you needed them, that's disgraceful. That is a form of racism. And no public opinion in government of India will, in India, आप उसके सामने आवाज उठाएंगे भाई ये क्या बात है आप गल्फ वालों को नहीं देते उसको दे देते हैं. Now one argument is that those countries allow dual nationality. America allows and doesn't allow. Officially it says no, but unofficially
But
you can
how
keep
many
your passport.
Americans would? Well, that is another question I want to ask Ratanji. What he has spoken about dual
To be honest with
citizenship.
you, I feel in some ways he is not, and I hope you know, he's not in touch with reality. First, I want to make a correction to first was said. American physicians make the largest single bulk of contribution to political activities and things that indirectly helps India. Number two, I am here as part of a Chamber of Commerce alliance. I started a Chamber of Commerce in Florida. We have one in Houston, one in Atlanta, and Dallas. We have now formed an alliance. 12 of us are here. We are not going to sign agreements sitting over there. We are already networking with people. Some of the delegates will be going on the 15th to Chhattisgarh. So to say nothing is happening is not because he doesn't know what I am doing. Things take time to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Indian Doctors Association.
We are talking about the dual citizenship. He is talking about
uska
the
main-
repercussions of the dual citizenship.
The other thing
Question
he
is
said,
asking
the other
is-
thing
the
he said,
question is, how would dual nationality encourage direct or indirect
I will
investment?
give you one living example. I will show you what it does. I don't have to think twice to come to India because I have a PIO card. I pack up my bags and come whenever I want. The easiness, it makes a difference. You have a sense of belonging. It's like a green card. So if you say कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, this is too much negative people. देखिए कई लोगों का सारा negative है. There has to be some positive. We are the forward-thinking people. I always think positive. It will make a difference. It is already making a difference. There's a delegate of this 12 member of Chamber of Commerce going to go and meet people. We came here for just an example. We came here for somebody's wedding. Just in
What you are narrating is the bureaucratic and diplomatic hurdle has been overcome
Exactly.
by issuing the PIO. But my question was, will it will convert into economy or not?
It will, because ultimately once you network with people,
Yeah.
you will never see a physician that you don't know exists or something. When we know, I will give a very good example. किसी की wedding पे आए थे, तो he was talking that we produce so many things. One of my friends owns 10 hotels. And मैंने कहा, I want to meet with Dilip Kanji right now. Within minutes, they made a relationship. He told him something happening in Goa, and a business was created just in minutes.
Yeah,
How you bring people together,
that's right.
that is what the chambers does. Business happens when people have mutual interest. But you cannot have something mutual unless you bring people together.
You bring people together without giving them a dual nationality.
Okay, I think the dual nationality will not bring the kind of expectation India has. It will not.
Exactly.
I can guarantee you, very few people who are settled in America will will avail this. The only advantage that I can think of is that you don't have to get a visa. And before 84, something like before the Asian Games started, there was no visa required.
Right.
Visa is being utilized by the Indian government as a source of great income. They charge huge amount of money, and all these embassies and consulates are being run by the money they make from visas. Why would they want to lose money for visa? The only advantage I see is people have is that they don't have to get a visa. I don't see any other advantage of having this dual citizenship. It's not dual citizenship because you don't get a voting right. It's a dual nationality. So what? I don't think it really. What will do it? What will do it?
Well, all it can do.
Second, let me make second point. The first generation people may be very emotional, like Dr. Ratan, and they may all consider, oh my God, I got dual citizenship. The second generation don't give a damn to dual citizenship. Believe me.
They wouldn't even be entitled. They would not even be entitled.
No, but they say I understand that you have to be
four generations.
You have to four generations. They will have absolutely no interest in dual citizenship. If you have seen kids growing up in America, you know that maybe the second generation still has some interest in India because they see Indian movies and they listen to parents. The third generation will see it. At least I'm talking about America.
Okay. Now you have given a very good twist
We have no interest
to this discussion. I want to know, my viewer would like to know, the problems of the non-resident Indians facing where they are living, the cultural conflict, the society on crossroads, where to shift, towards west, towards east, towards India, and within India, the south, west, east, where, what is the fixed point where you stand sometime? Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, see, I think it's a question that each country will answer differently.
Yeah. Okay.
For America, I don't think Indians have many problems. The only problem, they have very few problems, and sometimes people would say that there's a racism or there's a glass ceiling, and usually it turns out to be.
But I heard
people
nowadays that Indian community is at risk after the 9/11.
Yes,
and,
they are. They
there
are.
is a totally the.
But I tell you that America is still the greatest country, and you have lot less discrimination. I would be lot more discriminated if I were in India than I am being discriminated in America. Yes, true that some Sikhs and some people have been mistaken out of ignorance, but the American government has gone out of its way to make sure that these understand. And in fact, partially I blame these people who are being discriminated because they did not pay attention.
Dr. Anand, the thing which I was discussing was the problem of the family.
Yeah, the problem.
The cultural challenge before them, particularly as you were talking, the first generation or the second generation or the fourth generation. My viewer want to know what problem you are facing there at present. When you talk about love and emotion, it means there is a hidden thing that everybody who is abroad wants to come back to see their brothers, to meet their sisters,
Parents,
to talk to the polity of this country.
Parents who have daughters have problems, definitely problems, because they want to protect them very much. They don't care about their boys, they go out with the girls or anything. When the girls start going out, they're very, very double standards. If the girl does the same thing which the brother is doing, the parents become very upset. If the girl marries a black guy, oh my gosh, you should see the parents. They literally disown the girl. And there have been many cases they disown the girl. They cannot stand their girls marrying an African American. But a boy goes out and marries a white girl, they don't mind it. So this problem is a very big problem because they are usually looking for marriageable things, but this becomes a very risky thing.
So that one point is very clear. Indian is still a traditional man who has not acclimatized himself into the culture of the American.
You can take Indians out of India, but you cannot take Indians out of Indians.
ओके मैं डॉक्टर रतन एक छोटे से ब्रेक के बाद लौट करके आऊंगा और बातचीत के सिलसिले को आगे बढ़ाऊंगा। एक छोटे से ब्रेक के बाद लौट करके आएंगे और बातचीत का फोकस जो अगले हिस्से में रहने वाला है कि प्रवासी भारतीयों के परिवारों का अंतर्द्वंद क्या है, हम छोटे से ब्रेक के बाद लौट करके आएंगे। सर, घटनाचक्र में आप सबका एक बार फिर से स्वागत है। आज प्रवासी सम्मेलन का उद्घाटन हुआ है। प्रधानमंत्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने इसका उद्घाटन किया है और दिन भर विदेश मंत्री यशवंत सिन्हा और विदेश राज्य मंत्री दिग्विजय सिंह वहां बैठे रहे। सबकी बातें सुनी जा रही हैं और कुछ लोगों को पारितोषिक यानी कि इज्जत भी बख्शी गई है। उनके नाम भी मैं पढ़ करके सुनाऊंगा, क्योंकि वो भी एक विवाद है। जिन लोगों को वो सम्मान नहीं मिला है वो थोड़े पीड़ित हैं, आहत हैं, खिन्न हैं, और उसकी बात भी करेंगे। लेकिन हम लोग परिवार के अंतर्द्वंद की बात कर रहे हैं कि जो प्रवासी भारतीय वहाँ रहते हैं उनका अंतर्द्वंद क्या है, उनकी पीड़ा क्या है, उनकी अपेक्षा क्या है। बातचीत में हमारे साथ शामिल हैं डॉक्टर भिखु भाई पारिक, डॉक्टर रतन और डॉक्टर आनंद। डॉक्टर आनंद, आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे। डॉक्टर आनंद ने कहा था कि परिवारों में द्वंद्व तो है।
देखिए,
There is a
जो
conflict.
मैं नहीं चाहता कि ऐसी इम्प्रेशन क्रिएट की जाए कि घर घर में ये बीमारी है। Every family has its own attitude. The Gujaratis behave in a little different fashion. Punjabis are a little bit more liberal. But most important is, as our kids have grown, they have made us more aware of their concerns and their problems, and we have matured along with that. To say that we cannot change is telling we are dead wood. We are living beings. We change our opinions. We change our constantly with the times. So as our kids have grown, as they have been exposed to the Western way, we have adjusted ourselves. We still, most of us would love to marry our children to an Indian, but only a good Indian. We have had families where, in fact, I feel I helped. Initially, I was a little bit more conservative. Now I am more in the middle. One time I helped a girl married, yes, marry Gujarati. Marriage was a disaster. I learnt immediately. Again, I told them, marry a good man, doesn't matter where he comes from. It is same thing here.
You are a global citizen now.
We are all becoming global citizens. India was liberal, more liberal than this country. I grew up in Himachal Pradesh. This is what Mr.
We
Sen
have
said.
Draupadi in our culture. Why are you forgetting about it?
देखिए, Mr. Sen, the Nobel laureate, said that one of the most important things, the biggest character about India, the best culture of our India is our openness and our ability to adopt.
Yeah.
So those who are malleable enough that they have adopted both in terms of the country, culture and the family have no problems. Those that are rigid, जैसे बोलते हैं कि जट का जट रह गया, there are a problem. There will be a problem, but it don't has to. That is isolated. Most of us are educated people. We know how to adjust.
It varies from one country to another, depending on the kind of context that the country provides, and secondly, the kind of people who have gone there. I mean, in Fiji, there have been Indians for the last 140 years. They don't marry native Fijians. Nothing changes. Why? Because the native Fijians are seen as inferior. You see, we have our own racism, color conscious.
No, that is happening there in Australia also.
Yes.
Lot
Now,
more is-
Now, in the United States, the story is slightly different, because the whole civilization is based on immigration. And in the United States, what generally happens is, it's an aggressively assimilationist society. First day you go to school, you salute the flag. In England, this would be unthinkable. It's aggressive nationalism. And even now, when they want to introduce citizenship ceremony, many of us would say this is nationalistic, we don't want it. So United States is a different kind of experience. And naturally, given its history, it's an immigration-based society, it has evolved a mechanism. When people come, how do you co-opt them into the society? How do you make them feel Americans? The flag, the salute, and that kind of thing. And then there is an easy mixture of people. Now, Indians are in a slightly superior position in the United States because they have their own blacks. The blacks. in Britain, there are very few blacks, and therefore Indians are classified as blacks. So whenever Americans come to England, they are very surprised that we are called blacks. In the United States, this would be unheard of. So what I am saying is that every culture.
That
has
you
this-
have talked broadly. I am
Yeah.
talking about.
No, so what happens is that
Yeah.
therefore there is an Indian who is growing up.
Yeah.
He has to decide how he wants to assimilate into society. There is partial assimilation, there is full assimilation. In no European country would you have full assimilation. What you have is acculturation, learning the tricks of how to operate in a culture. And if you look at one of the things to look at would be the percentages of marriages. Now, I have only general figures about United
डॉक्टर
States.
पारिक, मैं जरा 10 नाम पढ़ दूं, बल्कि 11 नाम है जिन लोगों को प्राइज मिला है। 10 लोगों को ना है, अभी 11 के नाम लिखे हैं, बट I'll read 10 names. There's some mistake is there in the printout. Anyhow, there's 10 names. मैं जरा अपने दर्शकों को बता दूं कि 10 किन लोगों को मिला है, और उसके बाद इसी पे सवाल करें कि जो छूट गए हैं तो वो छूटे क्यों, और ये जो चुने गए थे किस आधार पे चुने गए, what was the basis and what was the ground?
ये सवाल आपको भारत सरकार को पूछना
नहीं, भारत सरकार से भी पूछेंगे, आपसे भी
हमें बताया
पूछेंगे।
नहीं कि क्या उनके रूल्स हैं।
जी,
In fact, they didn't tell us why they gave them.
yes,
They
yes,
didn't tell us how.
that I will come to on that question. जो सबसे पहला प्राइज मिला है, जिनको सम्मानित किया गया है, प्राइज तो ना कहें उसे, वो सबसे पहला मिला है ब्रिटिश एमपी लॉर्ड नवनीत ढोलकिया को मिला है। दूसरा उज्जवल दोसांझ, फॉर्मर प्रीमियर ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया। तीसरा सम्मान मिला है डी सेमीवेलू, ए मलेशियन मिनिस्टर। चौथा फातिमा मीर, वेल नोन फ्रीडम फाइटर फ्रॉम साउथ अफ्रीका, माफ कीजिए। मनु भाई चंदेरिया, बिजनेसमैन एंड philanthropist from Kenya, Hari Leela, businessman from Hong Kong, और Kanak Bhai Khemji, a businessman in Oman whose family settled there for the last 300 years. Nazir Ahmed, a liberal who had shifted to Trinidad and Tobago in the early 30s, was also honored on the occasion. And now we have the Mauritian Premier Anirudh Jagannath, and former Commonwealth Secretary General Shridat Rampal, and McKinsey Managing Director Rajat Gupta. ये तो लिस्ट थी जिनको प्रधानमंत्री ने आज सम्मानित किया। लेकिन डॉक्टर आनंद, मुझे आप बताएं कि मेरे को जो सम्मेलन में भनक जैसे ये सम्मान शुरू हुआ तो लोगों को ये नहीं समझ में आया कि व्हाट वाज द मेरिट्स एंड डीमेरिट्स, एंड लोग वहाँ पूछ भी रहे थे किया क्यों और व्हाट वाज द नीड फॉर इट।
See, since we had people from all over the world,
Yeah.
with 60 countries, I may know something about someone who was honored in the United States, but I know nothing about someone who came from South Africa. I would have really liked to at least 4 or 5 lines to say why we are giving these awards, and there are really a variety of people. Some people who are based on political gains in their own country, some are business people. So I really was left wondering what these people have done, and this question was raising in my mind, tell us why, because you don't really honor a person, you honor something the person has done, something they haven't done, distinguishing something. You don't say, okay, he's a good man, I'm going to give an award, or he is very rich, I'm giving an award. You don't give an award, you actually give something that they have done which is distinguish them from other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they picked us people from which country, because I would have thought there are more people in the United States who have really shined in their field, who have distinguished themselves with lot of achievement, and I know those names are not there.
They left
So-
the Fiji ex-premier,
Right.
Mahendra Chaudhary.
I
Yeah, please.
I have some my own assessment. I also
You
know
have
some.
knowledge or this is
I know someone who was on the panel.
okay
First of all,
for
they-
selecting these people.
yes,
Okay.
they did not want, and I have not discussed with him. Just my personal assessment, knowing the person. I think the person I know is very honorable. They are one of those pure breed. They will not do anything wrong. They also wanted to see to it that it is done not only कि अमेरिका से सबको ले लो, because इनके पास ज़्यादा पैसा है. They have looked at, and the other thing is क्या जल्दी है? ये 300 लोगों को आज ही प्राइज देना है. There is no emergency, and to be honest with you, I don't think anybody worth his value in salt would say कि भाई मेरे को प्राइज नहीं मिला. These kind of people don't deserve a prize. If others feel that they have done good, then it is their way to recognize. जो उनको तुम कहते हैं ना वो बहक लग रही थी और जो महक लग रही थी उनको तो रहने ही दो. Those that are truly doing their job because they love to do it. Let the others judge.
डॉक्टर पवन जी, मैं आपको बताऊं कि जब मैं सम्मेलन स्थल पे था तो उससे पहले वाली रात को एक डिनर था, वहाँ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स महेंद्र चौधरी जी से कह रहे थे, सर शायद लगता है गलती होगी. That was no need to say all this because महेंद्र चौधरी was saying.
मैंने पहले क्या कहा?
ऑफिशियल्स ने महेंद्र चौधरी को कहा
जी
कि गलती शायद हो गई, आपको नहीं देने की.
नहीं, हाँ, नहीं देने की, मतलब they have miscalculated.
मैं बता देता हूँ, वही मैंने कहा था, अल्टीमेटली लाइफ इज ऑल अबाउट इमोशंस. ठीक है ना? तो किसी को ईर्ष्या तो होगी, अरे कितनी जल्दी, अगले साल भी तो मिलेंगे. कोई
चलिए डॉक्टर भिखु पारिक इस पे छोटी टिप्पणी हो जाए, then we'll come back to the political issue because the time is short.
There are three quick comments on this. A, I think this giving this kinds of Pravasi Bharatiya Sanman is a good idea because it makes Indians feel welcome and it cherishes people. B, you also have to distribute across the world. There are 62 countries where our people are settled, and you have to decide who to give it to. But third and most important, I think, looking at this list, I have two thoughts. First, there is a confusion of criteria. Are you honoring somebody because he has got to the top in his profession, independently of what he has done for India, or are you honoring him because he has done something for India? And if you look at this category, there is a complete confusion of these two criteria. And secondly, I think, although I admire all the people whom I know who are on there, I am very surprised that the list doesn't include writers, scientists, top technologists.
Even the doctors.
In other words, you either have it's not a question of either.
That could have been the 20.
No. Look, I think the important thing is the first set of honors you give sets a precedent for others. If your first set of honors is questioned, then the whole system continues to be questioned. I don't question it. All I am saying is that you have to be exceptionally careful in who you give it in the first year, because that's when
that
people
becomes
will,
history.
that becomes history. And that sets the norm for future years.
डॉक्टर रतन, मैं इस बात को नहीं ज्यादा ले जाना चाहता.
एक कमेंट है,
इसको छोड़ देते हैं. मैं दूसरे सवाल पे आता हूँ. इसको पूरा देश जानता है कि भारत सरकार कैसे काम करती है, किसी को बताने की जरूरत नहीं है.
देखिए इस विधान से हम सम्मिलित नहीं है.
This is not our feeling.
आपको अगर सरकार से कुछ कहना हो तो आप कहिए, हमारे नाम से मत कहिए.
नहीं, सरकार से हमको कोई मतलब नहीं है. हम तो प्रवासी सम्मेलन पे आते हैं दोबारा से. मैं जो इसका राजनीतिक संदेश है प्रवासी सम्मेलन का, इस देश के लिए, प्रवासियों के लिए और विदेशों के लिए क्या संदेश है? What is the message? Do you think that you will become the ambassador abroad of India and you will have the tricolor on your shoulder?
Even if I want to be the ambassador wouldn't allow me.
That is right.
No, I think this Sammelan, to me, has done two things. A, it brought people together. I would never have met Dr. Anand or Dr. Ratan before. That's one thing. So it allows not networking. That's cheap, but allows me to get to know
the coordination,
the kinds of people the diaspora has produced. Because I know lots of Indians in America, but as academics, that's my limited field. So it has exposed me to Indians. And secondly, I think it has made the government of India realize that the diaspora has a great deal to contribute, not in money, as Dr. Anand said, in terms of ideas, in terms of sensibilities, and lots of other things. So I think to me, it's an important turning point in the development of
Indian
India.
Diaspora is going to become the Indian Planning Commission settled abroad, or what?
No, it can't do that. No, it can't do that. You see, your question was, is this conference useful?
Yeah.
The answer is, it is useful.
Yeah.
My only fear is, what happens at the end of it? And if nothing happens at the end of it, either because of internal divisions within the government of India, or because conflict between the expectations of India, government of India, and the diaspora, and if nothing happens, nothing substantial, chalta rahega, but if nothing substantial happens, no policy recommendations are made, no institutional mechanism to keep the dialogue going. I suggested today there should be a forum where there should be representatives of the diaspora, 20 of them, 20 from the government of India, meeting once a year, discussing issues and building up a sense of comradeship. China does
And
that.
have a
Israel
Sammelan
does
of
it.
this kind every
Haan.
year.
No, you can't have it every year. It costs you 10 crores. Nobody has the time to come. But if you can have a smaller group of 40 people, which meets every year, Sammelan like this for 4 years is a kind of climax. That's a good idea.
Dr. Ratan,
I think
I am asking you a very political question.
and I'll give you an exact political question.
Yeah.
I think every single Indian, wherever he is an ambassador of India. That's the way the country perceives. That's the way we
You are
feel.
too
ourselves.
emotional, doctor.
No, emotionally. I'm not. This is absolute fact. देखिए, whether we are from Gujarat or they call us all Indians.
Yes.
They learn about India from us.
That is the right spirit, but it is
only
not
that,
there
no,
like
no,
this.
no,
The right
this is
spirit.
true. In
If
USA,
every Indian became an ambassador,
he's taking
India
it literally.
would be deeply embarrassed and ashamed.
No, he's taking it literally. देखिए, even my father, God bless his soul, used to say, because पता क्या बात है? If I am a good doctor, if we are a good community, if we are a successful community, what does it reflect? Indians are good.
Yes.
So in that way
And
we
if
are,
we are
not
bad,
literally.
And if we are bad,
Then it reflects poorly.
which is why not everybody should be an ambassador.
No, you are taking it literally. Come on, क्या बात करते हो ambassador तो वो
I think
तो
it has
उसका तो
become
झगड़ा
a-
पहले ही चल रहा है.
It has become a buzzword for
Exactly.
every politician that
Yeah.
visits America. You are our ambassador. I don't know what it means, but one thing which really I would like to say is that Indians in America have accomplished is they have created a good political clout. And that has helped a great deal to India because after all America is the only superpower left and India does worry what happens in the legislature. So that way Americans in India, Indians in America have really accomplished a great deal. One thing which I would not like to leave this point without saying is that we have carried the baggage from India, very heavy baggage of regionalism, religious, ethnic, language, and that is hurting us terribly. We have very large Gujarati association, we have very large Bengali association, we have very large Kerala association, but we have very few Indian associations. And this Indianness that the Dr. Ratan describes emotions, I don't see it there. I do not see. I went to Kerala. I'm not from Kerala. I went to attend a Kerala association to see how they succeed. 10,000 people in one hotel. And when we call Indian convention, if we are lucky, we get 400 people. We do not get it because this baggage of regionalism, people identify themselves as Gujarati, Bengalis, Punjabis.
Mr. Tyagi,
That is
this is-
hurting very badly.
Let me tell you something. This is where they don't realize what is called maturity. We mature as people, we mature as nations, and as an ambassador, I tell you, our Congressman Jim Davis was not part of India caucus. He's my neighbor. I live on Davis Island. He lives. My daughter worked as an extern with him. I talked to him. I could change his opinion about India much better because he's a neighbor than an ambassador could have done. That way, have I done the job? He's taking things literally. We mean in general sense, do we make a difference? That's the question.
Do
Yes,
you agree in totality, all the three, because there is 1 minute left with me, that this convention is a step forward for a better perspective in understanding each other, the non-resident Indians and the Indian government as well? Do you all agree?
Yes, we do. We do. I think it's a first
Is it
step.
so?
But it's only a first step.
Yes,
It's not the end of whole thing.
It is
If it's not pursued, it will be
You
totally
just leave it to the complications and everything.
it is a
Is it a good step
step. It's a
or
good
a
step.
positive
forward.
step?
It's a
It's
good step
forward
Yeah.
with the danger
Yeah.
of becoming 2 steps backward unless we are careful.
चलिए सर,
It was
धन्यवाद.
worth spending our money to come here.
ओके एग्जैक्टली डॉक्टर पारिक आपका भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और डॉक्टर रतन आपका भी और डॉक्टर आनंद आप यहाँ आए और आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जैन टीवी की ओर से भी और हमारे दर्शकों की ओर से भी। और कहते हैं गिरते हैं सहसवार ही मैदान जंग में, वो तिफ्र क्या गिरेंगे जो घुटनों के बल चले। चलना शुरू हुआ है, देखते हैं ये प्रवासी भारतीयों का सम्मेलन क्या हमारी मदद करता है, हम क्या इनकी मदद करते हैं, और मदद की बात भी छोड़ दें तो ये दोनों का इश्क थोड़ा सा और बढ़े तो देखते हैं तिरंगे पे क्या रंग लाता है। कल हम फिर मिलेंगे नए विषय के साथ, नए मेहमानों के साथ। तब तक के लिए धन्यवाद, नमस्कार, खुदा हाफिज।